Hey,
The topic is curls doing push-ups.
you've just done it. Just when I'm announcing your call. Next time I'll mute you, troubling kid. Hey, Danny Bentering here with me. Happy Thursday. And we are back with Danny Ham and the Cool Kids Club for another amazing call on commitment, gratitude. And so Danny, how are you?
I'm fabulous, curls. How are you? May I speak now? I can speak now.
Now is a good time. You little rebel. I'm very good. Thank you for asking. So what do you have
Awesome.
for us today?
Today, I figured we'd talk about resiliency,
Okay.
overcoming adversity, having a positive attitude, cool things like that.
Oh, cool.
Yes.
This. So before we just start, to all of you out there that are that have raised your hands, I'll bring you in a second. Those of you that haven't, please come and join us on the panel by clicking on the little hand at the bottom of your Zoom screen so that you can participate or not, but at least you can see our faces and be there with us. So with no further ado, the floor is all yours, Danny.
All right. Thank you, curls. Welcome, everybody, to our In Focus call, gratitude, attitude, and commitment. Curls is going to put up a little thing on the screen that says, everything I say is my fault and no one else is to blame for it. If you have any issues with anything I say, contact Curls directly and she will get you sorted as usual, right?
I've shared it already. It didn't show?
It might have. You know me, I don't know how to work this computer thing, this whole online business stuff.
Do it, guys, yeah? Danny, focus.
Yeah.
Focus.
You're so needy. All right, guys. Today, I want to talk about resiliency and, overcoming adversity. Right now, obviously, the world is kind of upside down a little bit. And instead of focusing on more of that, I'd like to talk about ways that we can overcome some of it, and look at these as an opportunity to grow. Right? I mean, life's going to happen regardless of if we wanted to or not. And the attitude that we bring to it is going to determine a lot of times how it affects us. And, we try to talk about attitude on this call. So by show of hands, okay, has anybody ever lost someone you loved or had your heart broken or been through a divorce, anything like that? Yeah. What about lived through a natural disaster, been bullied, or been fired, or made redundant, as my mates across the pond call it? Lastly, if you or anyone you love has ever had to cope with mental illness or addiction or some form of physical impairment or cope with suicide, anything like that. So my point is that adversity does not discriminate. Okay, adversity, challenges, they don't care how much money we have, where we're from, they don't care about our background, our culture, none of that. Adversity is going to show up in life for everyone. It doesn't care who we are. It's not picky, right? And if we're alive, we've already had to deal with some tough times. And if we're trying to accomplish something great, there's going to be a lot more tough times ahead. Which is awesome, because the way I kind of look at it is the greater the challenge, the better the story. When we hear somebody who's everything's worked out smooth and they've made this wonderful accomplishment, that's kind of cool, but it's not nearly as neat as when someone has had to struggle or they've had to overcome a lot of adversity to achieve something great, or to achieve whatever it is that they're trying to do, whether it might not be great, but just what they set out to do. So the adversity makes it all worth it. The adversity helps us get there. And that's part of falling in love with the process, is just understanding that we're going to have adversity in life, right? And what are we going to do to overcome that? And adversity is different for everyone. For some people, just staying at home in quarantine is a huge adversity, right? For some people, it might be medical or physical or mental, whatever it is. Adversity looks different for everybody, but we all experience it. So I want to cover just like a few strategies or things that resilient people seem to have in common. Okay. And one is that resilient people understand that shit happens, right? They know suffering is a part of life. It doesn't mean they actually welcome it, right? They're not gluttons for punishment, but they understand that tough times come and it's just part of the human existence. And knowing this, it stops us from feeling discriminated against when the tough times come. It's not like we're special and these bad things are happening to us. They happen to everybody. And something I see more and more frequently is this victim mentality. People complaining like the world is against them and like they're somehow entitled to this perfect life that's just free of struggle. And like with all the happy pictures people put on Instagrams, that like they're the norm. Like that's what life really is. And at the beginning of this call, when I listed off some of the challenges that we face, well, we've all demonstrated that just isn't true. Life happens, and how we face and deal with that is really going to determine how we come through it and the attitude that we have and the life that we live while we're experiencing it. A second thing is like resilient people are really good at choosing carefully where they select their attention, right? Like where we focus. Like they have a habit of realistically appraising situations, typically managing to focus on things that they can change and somehow accept the things that they can't. The serenity prayer is something that, like I say all the time, right? Like just understanding what I can actually control and letting go of the things that I can't, instead of getting bugged out or focusing on things that are just outside my purview of things I have any control over. I'll just say that over and over again in my head. Sometimes if somebody's just frustrating me, right? Like I just say that and it calms me down. I don't know if that worked for you, but for me, I find that pretty helpful, and this is a vital learnable skill for resilience. As humans, we're really good at noticing threats and weaknesses. Okay. We're kind of hardwired for that negative. And negative emotions tend to stick to us like Velcro, right? Whereas positive experiences seem to bounce off us like Teflon sometimes. And being wired in this way was good for us and served us well from an evolutionary perspective, for example. Imagine for a moment, I'm a caveman, right? I come out of my cave in the morning, of course, after doing my morning routine in my cave. And I look over here and there's this saber-toothed tiger, right? And then I look over here and there's this awesome rainbow. Well, it would be in my best interest to pay attention to this saber-toothed tiger, right? Like I'm going to be drawn to that negative. And that's helped us so far in evolution. But the problem is now that we live in an era where we're constantly bombarded with all these perceived threats, right? Like all day long, our brains like treat all of these threats as if they were a tiger, and they're just not. Our threat focus, our stress response is permanently dialed up, especially for people who watch the news. I mean, you guys know if you're on, if you're on this call frequently, like I'm just a big proponent of not watching the news at all. It's all negative and it's all bombarded at us and it's all designed, in my opinion, to divide us, and resilient people don't necessarily diminish the negative or ignore that things are actually happening, but they've also worked out a way of tuning in to the good, focusing on the good that's out there and not just all the negative that's coming at us. And, when we're going through something difficult, it's important that we don't give up like what we have, focusing on what we've lost. I'm sure you probably heard, the phrase like, worrying about yesterday only ruins today's peace, or today's serenity. And may be difficult sometimes, but we need to find a way to focus on the good. The technical term is called benefit finding. I call it just finding things to be grateful for. And being able to switch the focus of our attention to include the good, it's been shown by science to be a very powerful strategy, right? And you guys know I do all kinds of in-depth research, like Googling things. And in 2005, two really smart dudes conducted a study. I would tell you their names, but I have no chance of pronouncing them correctly. So let's just say two guys much smarter than me. And all they did was ask people to think of 3 good things that had happened to them each day. And they did this for 6 months. And what they had found over this 6-month course of this study was that those people showed higher levels of gratitude, higher levels of happiness, and less depression over the entire 6 months. And we've talked about that a lot on this call. Like when we're going through grief, for example, you might need a reminder, or you might need permission to be grateful. Sometimes we can feel guilty for focusing on gratitude, or trying to focus on the good when bad things are happening. So just kind of come up with a way that works for you. Make a little sign or something that reminds you to accept the good. In the U.S. Army, they frame it as hunting the good stuff. I've heard that term. I read about it. Finding that language that works for you, but whatever you do, make it like an intentional, deliberate, ongoing effort to tune into what's good around you, right? So like I have this little sign up here. I don't know if you see it. Can we read that? Oh, there we go. Blessed. I would pull it down, but then my books will fall. So I have that. That's my reminder that I keep here near me, that no matter how bad things get sometimes, or if life is stressing me out, like I am blessed, man. Like the fact that I get to sit here and do this and hang out with cool people from all over the world, and I'm relatively healthy and have all of these little things that I could easily take for granted. I just have this big reminder right next to me that I'm blessed, and it helps sometimes, for me to just sit up there and look at that, to have it right next to my face. So whatever it is that works for you, just have something near you that reminds you. It could be a picture. We've shared things on this call before of things that we have around us that just remind us to be grateful. And I found this little story here I want to read with you real quick, because y'all know I love me a story on gratitude in hard times. I'm going to read this to you real quick. So this is by a lady named Ann Davis, and it's how I use gratitude to transform my life in the midst of hardship. You're struggling to be grateful every day, right? You should be grateful. You've been told to count your blessings, and you've been told gratitude will increase your happiness. But when you're going through hard times, it's easy to think, what's the point? Acquiring an attitude of gratitude is tough. But if you make the effort to practice it every day in the midst of your hardship, you find the thing that entirely transforms your life. Here's her story. My husband and I were happily married for 3 years. We tried to have a baby and nothing had happened. A second and third opinion confirmed what the first doctor had said. I had acute fibrosis, and the only thing that could be done was a hysterectomy. Scary stuff right there. I cried and cried and cried, day in, day out. I felt empty and heavy-hearted. How was I going to walk among people, especially when the culture is biased against childless women, when there is little tolerance and they say the most ignorant things? So you don't want kids? When are you going to have kids? Aren't you afraid to raise kids when you're old? Maybe God doesn't want you to have kids. I was shrouded in shame, stigma, secrecy. Seeing pregnant women was a constant reminder of failure, that a baby I so wanted but couldn't have. Desperately hoping to prove all 3 doctors wrong, I tried every supplement known to man, and nothing happened. Well, things turned deadly. The tumors enlarged and started crippling me. I was tired of being sick. Painfully, I opted for a hysterectomy. The feeling of emptiness was overwhelming. Trying to have a baby was over, and I could only imagine what it would be like to have and hold a newborn. The doctor said she didn't know how I had survived that long with such huge tumors. During my follow-up appointments, I met a lady who had lost her unborn child and was going through the hysterectomy because she had uterine cancer. That made me feel grateful for what I'd gone through. It could have been me with the cancer and the loss of a child. Yes, I had lost the chance to have a baby, but everything else was just fine. I had to recognize the benefit of being content the way I was and be thankful that I was healthy, even though I didn't think childlessness was fair. Sometimes losing what you once held dear is a thing that points you to gratitude. I learned so much about suffering and loneliness that it changed me in ways that are deep and difficult to explain. I gained empathy for those who endure grief in their own way. I'm grateful for the time I wake up in the morning until the time I lay down to sleep. And then she goes on talking about the benefits of gratitude. But I just really like that story. I wanted to share because it's a perfect example of right when we think life sucks, right? Be grateful for the things that we have, because a lot of people don't, and just focus on the good. It's just, I just like the story, so I wanted to share it, right? And a third thing that resilient people do is they ask themselves, is what I'm doing helping or harming me? Now, this is a question that's used a lot in therapy. In recovery, we phrase it as, is this making my life unmanageable? That's how we're supposed to look at situations that we're going through to determine if it's something that's good for us or not. And this is powerful. In my experience, it's been very helpful. However, it takes discipline to implement it. It sounds easy, when we're talking about it, like we are here just having a conversation, but we're right in the middle of the shit. It can be difficult to stop and evaluate it. Whether it's forgiving old transgressions from your partner, or past family drama, arguments from previous holidays, or just trolling through social media. Just asking ourselves if what we're doing, right, the way that we're thinking, the way that we're acting, is this helping or harming us? It puts us back in the driver's seat and gives us some control over our decision making. And those are just three little things, three strategies that I'd read about, and they're simple and they're readily available to us anytime, anywhere. They don't require rocket science. Resilience isn't some fixed trait. It's not elusive where some people have it and some people don't. It actually just requires a very ordinary process, but it requires the willingness to give them a shot, or give them a go, as my mates say. I believe there are moments in life where our path splits, and the journey we thought we were going down, it veers off in a direction that we never anticipated. And a lot of times we certainly didn't want, but if you ever find yourself in a situation where you think there's no way I'm coming back from this, I urge you to lean into, these strategies or this mind frame, and just reframe that conversation in your head, because we can all do it. We've talked a lot in here about, on this call, about needing friction to grow, right? It's been my experience that when we have adversity and we have friction and we go through these tough times, we're better for it, right? It might suck while we're going through it, but when we come out on the other side of it, that's where we experience a lot of growth. I saw this, so I just Googled this thing about short story about adversity and how it's necessary. And I came up with this thing here about a butterfly. I just want to share this with you real quick. It says, one day a small gap appeared in the cocoon through which the butterfly had to appear. A boy who accidentally passed by stopped and watched how the butterfly was trying to get out of the cocoon. It took a lot of time. The butterfly was trying very hard, and the gap was as little as before. It seemed that the power would leave the butterfly soon. So the boy decided to help the butterfly out. He took a penknife and he cut the cocoon. The butterfly immediately got out, but his body was weak and feeble, and the wings were barely moving. The boy continued to watch the butterfly, thinking that now its wings would spread and it would fly. However, it didn't happen. The rest of its life, the butterfly had to drag its weak body and wings that weren't spread. It was unable to fly because the boy did not realize that an effort to enter through the narrow gap of the cocoon was necessary for the butterfly, so that the life-giving fluid would move from the body to the butterfly's wings, and that the butterfly could fly. Life forced the butterfly to leave its shell hardly so it would become stronger and would be able to grow and develop. If we were allowed to live without meeting difficulties, we would not be viable. Life gives us challenges to make us stronger. Next time you're faced with a challenge, will you let the water sink your ship, or will you let the water carry you to your destination? You know, and I believe that that's part of it, right? A lot of times, well, I'll speak for myself. Like when I see people who are struggling or going through some stuff, like I want to help. You know, it's my nature. Like I want to help them. And something I've learned is by doing things for people or having people do things for me is not always what's best. You know, it might make us feel good to help people when they're struggling. And I'm certainly not saying don't help people. You obviously know that I'm not saying that. But we have to learn from that. You know what I mean? Sometimes that's what is in front of us for a reason, right? Like we need to deal with that adversity. We need to have that struggle in order to be the person that we're meant to be, you know? So a lot of times, I shouldn't say a lot of times, sometimes whenever we're seeing people struggle, we just need to let them struggle, right? And it's hard to watch, especially when it's someone that we care about. But all we can really do is just be there for them, you know, and people have to learn their own lessons. And, you know, like Shabir says, Samir hurt his knee, you know, he's about to have an opportunity to learn that right now, especially if he's going to be laid up, you know, and the nature will be to want to do everything for him and all that. But what is somebody really going to learn if we do everything for them when they're going through trials and tribulations, right? They're not going to learn the same. So that was my little bit I had on adversity. And I wanted to talk about something that I heard about recently and I've read about that I found super fascinating. Has anybody heard of neutral thinking? Does anybody know what that is? Okay. So I just want to touch on this a little bit. I don't know enough about it to talk a lot about it, but I just saw it super, super fascinating. And I wanted to share it with you guys on this call. Okay. So I heard about it from this guy, Trevor Moawad. And he has helped, he started out helping like football, the American football teams, right? And sports over here is where he kind of developed this. It actually was an idea that was largely built at the University of Alabama here. So if you know anything about college football in America, they're badass. Okay. So for the last like 15 years, they've won a ton of national championships. They're just considered one of the strongest programs year in, year out. They just find a way to win. Okay. And this guy, Trevor Moawad, went to the University of Alabama before they started kicking everybody's ass, right? They were very, very average. All right. And the football team wasn't doing great, you know, at the time when he got there. They were kind of, you know, 50-50 win and lose. And when they were trying to dive down and find what was behind all of that, because historically they're a good program. Okay. And you can translate this to anybody. This is just where they kind of figured this thing out, was the University of Alabama. And what he found was that they had a culture just filled with negativity. Like they just had a negative culture throughout the entire program. And, you know, telling everyone, hey, be positive all the time wasn't working. Okay. And it didn't make sense because it didn't feel right, because things weren't positive all the time around the program. Okay. So that's like, you know, so for me, when I started to do positive affirmations and I would just say some shit, my mind immediately would be, well, that's not true. You know, like I am wealthy or whatever, when it's just a fact, I'm not, you know what I mean? Like my mind would obviously say, it'd be like me sitting here saying all day, I am super tall. I'm super tall. Well, I'm never going to believe that because I'm only so tall. You know what I mean? So what they said was, let's find a different way to look at this. Instead of just trying to frame everything in the positive, let's focus a little bit more on reality. Okay. So the way that they determine this, or the way that they kind of develop this mindset, is to start out by minimizing the negativity. All right. So they determined that the carrier of negativity is language. Okay. It's verbalizing these things. So, you know, when the players are complaining about, oh, it's so hot outside, or, you know, we couldn't even beat this sorry team. How are we supposed to beat, you know, LSU was the example, but, you know, another really good team. Okay. So if we suck, how are we supposed to compete with these people who are awesome? And they would say these things, and they noticed them just talking about it amongst the players throughout the program. So the first thing that they worked on was to stop saying stupid shit out loud, right? That's exactly how he worded it. That's what we told the guys. Stop saying stupid shit out loud. Okay. The first step to neutral thinking is to minimize verbalizing the negative thoughts. Right? We all know how hard it is to control the thoughts in our head, but we can control the things that we say much easier. Okay, so this was just like the starting point where they tried this little experiment. And the second thing is that they had when they were looking back and evaluating this, is like, you can't just not do your way to being successful. Okay, you can't just take all of these things out and then all of a sudden be successful. To be successful requires action. As we know, you do have to actually do things. Okay, so they tried to kind of develop this system, and it's all based around that neutral is this idea that the past is real. Okay, like what people struggle with in positive thinking is that the past never happened. Like they just ignore the negative altogether. That's not reality. You know, neutral thinking says that what happened, it happened, and it was bad. However, the past is not predictive. What happens next is determined by what we do, not what's happened before, right? It's about the action that we take to determine what's going to happen, not just focusing on something that's already passed. Okay, so it's a combination of behavior-based thinking. So you focus on the next behavior and not a past event that's already happened. A neutral thinker is someone who, instead of thinking about outcomes, focuses on better behaviors, which, you know, ties into what we talked about a few weeks, you know, in a row here, is building successful habits, right? Behaviors, that's what that is creating these habits, or our behaviors. And then the outcome will take care of itself. You know, acceptance of the past without bias. It was what it was, good or bad, it just was, right? It happened, it's real. But what happens next is totally based on what we do and not how we feel. So I need to learn more about this to have a better discussion on it. But I just wanted to bring it up to the point because I just think it's super interesting. I was listening to a podcast that Ed Milet, who I've talked about in here, like I love that dude. And he was interviewing this guy, Trevor, and they started talking about it. So I went and kind of looked to see what I could read on it. And he has a book. I haven't read it yet. It hasn't made the list, but it will. And when I do that, I want to have a bigger discussion on it, because I just think that I'm all about how can we change our behaviors by living in gratitude and having a positive attitude and doing a commit, you know, making and keeping commitments to ourselves, as you know. But I think that this whole concept of neutral thinking, to me, the word that jumps out is acceptance. You know, just accepting things as they are, the fact that they did happen, but what are we going to do about it? You know, and I think that there's a way in there to make that actionable that I'm really not familiar with yet. So if any of you guys can figure it out, you save me a little bit of effort too, and just let a brother know. And then we can talk about that on this call, and that would be amazing. All right. So I wanted to open up now, you know, like we do, to have other people kind of share some of your experiences or just any insights, you know, on overcoming adversity. You know, it could be something that you have done. It can be something of someone that you're familiar with, someone that you know that's close to you, but you know, just have a little discussion on how adversity is necessary or ways that you've grown through facing adversity. And I meant to mention on the beginning of this call, we're going to cut the call a little short today. Last week it ended kind of abruptly, and that's my fault. Curls had sent me a message that says that she has a meeting, like a hard 10 o'clock, and I didn't get the message because, well, you know how I am with Facebook. It's just not my jam. So we want to give Curls a few minutes to breathe and everything before her next call, because she is so good to us and we want to be good to her. So just letting you know now, we're gonna end a little short now that Curls has these meetings right after our call. So who's got something? Yes, Curls?
Yes, before anyone opens up for questions, a few of you are asking how to be on the screen on the panel. So Jaime and John, for this you need to click on the raise hand button. If you see raise hand somewhere or a little icon hand, click on that, and that will allow me to bring you over to the panel, and then you'll be able to see the camera and participate. So if you do that, I'll keep an eye and I'll bring you over. So click on the raise hand button. I'm out.
Well done, Curls. Well done, Curls. Shabir, I'll ask you to share some experience, man, because I know part of your story. But you have definitely overcome some adversity to be where you are, man. So just if you would share a little bit of that experience for us, for the people who don't know how you got to be Shabir.
Thank you, Danny. Can you get someone else? I'll just help Sumit to go in his bed because he's really in bad pain, and I'll come back.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Of course.
Sorry, mate.
Of course. No worries. Yes. Unmute. Let's see. I don't see. It doesn't have your name. I'm trying to unmute you. Effie.
Yes.
I thought you looked familiar, but all I could see was your hand. What's going on?
Okay. Thank you, Danny, for always encouraging me and us. I really appreciate you, and God bless you. Today, I just want to share briefly on adversity and how I was able to overcome it. When you were talking about the lady who did the hysterectomy, I resonated with it because I haven't done a hysterectomy, but I had a condition called endometriosis. And it causes excruciating pain. It just made me so unproductive. I was scared to take a job and all that. And you know, it started. I think it spanned for maybe like 20 years of my life. But the first maybe 15, I could bear the pain because I just felt it was usual dysmenorrhea. But when I came and did my first surgery, the pain increased, and that was when they discovered the endometriosis. This was 2010. So between 2010 and 2016, I was going through much more pain than before. And I did another surgery in 2015, a laparoscopy. I was on medication, and you know, my body sometimes got used to the medication. The doctors would change it and I would start another one, you know, just like that. And it was just so terrible. So one of these days I went for my usual checkup, and the doctors told me, sorry, there was nothing they could do about it. And I didn't know what, because I had depended so much on the doctors. But I'm a Christian, and I believe in God, and I believe prayers work as well. So I told myself that I was going to do a fast, and the whole year, because this happened in March of 2016. And I told myself I was just going to do something until something happened. And fasting and prayer came to my mind, since the doctor said there was nothing they could do about it. And the pain was just so terrible. So I decided to fast, and I didn't fast the whole day. Sometimes I broke the fast at about 3 in the afternoon. And then my only prayer was for healing, that I should be healed of this condition. And there were days when the pain I would go to sleep in pain, and the pain would wake me up. sometimes at about 4 a.m. and I would still take maybe a slice of bread and medication so that the pain will die down so that I could do my fast. I still considered it a fast, but I just told myself I won't say because I woke up in pain and I took that, I won't do the fast that I said I was going to. So I did that for the entire year, from March to December, apart from July and October, because the pain was just terrible those months. But in December, for the first time in, I don't know, for as long as I can remember, I had a period without pain. Usually when my period comes, it's for the week before or 2 weeks before, I start feeling some pain and I know that it's coming. But in December, there was no pain. And then I had a period. I didn't even know I was having a period. And then the first of every year, January 1st, it's not a good day for me, but January 1st of 2017 was one of the best days I had. So I'm just trying to say that if you go out to look for a solution, you will find it, and definitely what you want will come to pass. Thank you.
I love it. Thank you for sharing. That's a lot of discipline, fasting like that for a year. That's tough. Well done. I appreciate you sharing. Thank you. All right. Hilton, what's up, my man?
Hi everyone. Danny, I wanted to share about mental illness, and it's something which is, my background is construction, and I'm now coaching, and the biggest area for mental illness is in construction. And I can understand why, when, especially with construction companies. And I've recently got a guy which I'm coaching, and he turned over last year 800,000 British pounds in his business. And I asked him, how much did you get for yourself? And he said it was less than 50,000. So what was happening as I actually got to coach him more and more, he was running around like a busy fool all the time and just getting jobs with no profit on it. And you could see the strain on him and the discomfort of not actually, I think his men has been earning more money than him, and he's running the company. So I'm really happy to be actually signing him for a year's contract to work with him to change his business, change his mindset, his finances, and his actions, and get him to the point where he could avoid the mental illness which is high in the construction industry. So I thought I would share that sometimes, you know, in my background, I've been through bankruptcy and actually gone down the same line of actually, you know, having 22 men, 4 vans and not earning any money. And it is a very, very easy thing to do. So I'm hoping I can help him to alter where he's going. So that's what I wanted to share, Danny. Thanks.
I appreciate it, Hilton. Man, I love that. I love that your coaching business is up and running, my friend. I remember on this call a few months ago, you were had a little fear about getting it going, and you know, what if I don't do a good job? What if I don't do whatever? And you took action, and you've made it happen, man.
Yeah.
And now it's a reality.
Thank you.
Absolutely, man. That fires me up, dude. All right. Shabir, how's Samir doing?
Thank you, Danny. Samir, I just helped him to go to his bed, but I told him, I said, remember what JJ said to us last night at 2 a.m.? He said, pain without a gain, it's a shame. I said, remember that to me. So we made a video, we sent it to JJ. I said, that's what I'm teaching my son because that's what I've learned. But what I want to share here, before you said if we lost someone, just quickly, my cousin, he was like a brother to me. And why I'm sharing this story, because he was part of our community. he had depression, anxiety, and he was in a really bad way. And I took him under my wing and mentored him and helped him a lot. Finally brought him into SFM. He was absolutely in love with SFM. He made 3 videos, a 90-day journey. And every day at the start of the phone call, he was telling me, Shavi, I love SFM. I said, I'm glad you're saying that. It was changing his life. And I lost him, Danny, guys. It's gone through my fingers because someone, you bring him too close and get him out of all those difficulties. He had a car crash and he was burned that like we couldn't even get his body. And that hurt me. That destroyed me. Like I could not imagine like being through war in Afghanistan and all that. But this, what happened here in Australia, that was really tough. But what I did, guys, I said to myself, my cousin is gone. I can't help it. He's gone. I did my best, but I'm here to help others and do the best for others. And that's why this 25 push-ups for 25 days is so valuable and so important to me to raise awareness. And even today, when Samir hurt himself, you guys can go to Tribe and see that video I uploaded on Tribe. What I did, he was handled by the ambulance people, and I called Saha, my wife, to take a video. And Masi, you can see instead of 3 push-ups, he did 7 push-ups for his brother. And we did those push-ups. And because I was saying to myself, what I'm focusing on, what's my responsibility? He's in a good hand. Let's do what I have to do. When I did that, jump on the back of the ambulance to go to the hospital with Samir. And this is the lady, the paramedic lady said to me, she said, she decided to stop working 5 days a week because she's so tired and she's getting older. She looked at me. She said, if I get people like you and your family, I'll have to work 7 days a week. With the attitude like your son is in there and you didn't even panic and you're just doing what you're doing because I explained to her what I'm doing about the push-ups. Why I'm sharing this, our attitude is so important. Being grateful those people come and looking after my son, and being thankful that what they have done for us. Even when we left the hospital, the doctor said, we want people like you in this country. I'm not saying I'm the best. I'm saying this, that it's all up to us. The sign behind me, being grateful. I said to them, I said, the nurse said, I'm sorry, I'll push your son's leg and he's in pain. I said, it's okay, we're grateful that you're looking after us. That is very important. As Danny said, life throws challenges at us because try to make us, we need to learn from it. We need to gain something out of it. What JJ said, that is so true. And no one is alone. No one, if anyone thinks it's why happening to me, it's not that. It's happening to everyone. We all get our share. And instead of complaining, be grateful for it. Because this pain makes us stronger. And I've been telling Samir, and he's smiling, and when he cries about the pain, and I say smile, because that pain will make you stronger. That's what it is, guys. Thank you, Danny. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Shabir.
I'm grateful.
It, man. Yeah. And you are the best. You are the best. That's cool. You know, you're right. Things don't happen to us, man. Things happen for us. And even when they suck, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to learn. You know, whenever things happen that are bad and they make it more difficult to move forward, as long as we persist and we end up moving forward anyway, it just makes the story that much cooler. Like, look at all this I had to overcome to get here, you know, and that's what inspires people. You know, it's whenever life shows up and people keep moving anyway. I loved JJ's call yesterday. I thought it was awesome. One of the things that popped into my head was, you know, when he was talking about pain is, you know, and someone told me this isn't mine, and I pay it forward, is, you know, pain is in the resistance in most things, you know, and this was the conversation I'd had before, you know, shoulder surgery, right? Like I had to do that with no pain medicine because we all know I can't have pain medicine, right? And so I was trying to prepare for all of this. And this was this older, wiser dude And he just said, look, Danny, whether it's physical pain, emotional pain, spiritual pain, the pain is resisting that. You know, as soon as we just accept things as they are and, okay, this is going to hurt, just accept it, you know, and we stop resisting that and fighting against it, we come out on the other side much quicker. And the experience that we have with the pain is much less because we just accept it for what it is. You know, that it's impossible to have a life without pain. It's impossible, you know, and the more that we think that we don't deserve the pain or that this shouldn't happen, the more that's just unnatural. You know, just accepting it for what it is and moving forward makes everything a lot smoother, in my experience.
That is so true. Life without pain does not exist. I've been through a lot, and it brought me, and who I am now is because of all those pain. And to me, some people sometimes they laugh at me, and I don't care. To me, if life is easy, it gets boring. As simple as that. Life has to be hard to make you who you want to be. Easy life does not exist. And you know what? Last thing I want to say, we are so lucky to be among this amazing community and this organization, because it gives us so much energy. You put one video there, look at all the messages you receive. That is energy, that healed the wound. Thank you to every single of you writing those messages for us. We're so grateful. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Shabir. All right. Does anybody else have anything they want? Jacqueline, yes.
Hey everyone, great to be here. When Shabir just talked about taking a family member under his wing, the whole story popped up, what's happened to me over the last 2 weeks. My mom has got very heavy depression, and she's got a little paranoia, and she's just anxious. And for over a decade, I've been trying to make her see how she can get better, because I've gone through a lot myself with depression and alcoholism and everything, and I've walked through all that. And so over the last decade, I've been trying to help her, but I'm not her teacher. She's not ready yet. And last week, I really needed to say to her, this happened not to you, but it happened for you. And what happened was, 2 weeks ago, I had holiday. My holiday started 2 weeks ago. And I thought, oh, it's the first time in over a year that I've got 2 weeks for myself. I can build up my business. And I was just euphoric that I have got time for myself. And 2 days later in my holiday, I got the flu and lying in bed with high fever and everything. And I just felt like, but I was still working on my business. And I thought, oh, the next 1.5 weeks, I've just got time for myself. 2 days later, my mom's workplace called me that she broke both her feet falling down the stairs at her workplace. And I was like, okay, then, because she's got depression, and for everybody who knows people with depression, they have problems organizing their whole life. Like her flat is not in a state like it should be. And I just knew, okay, she broke both her feet, and then all this came whizzing down what I've got to do next, like take care of my mom, bring her stuff to the hospital and everything. And I've still have that plan here. I made a plan what I've got to do and everything. And I've sorted out my plan. And then 2 days later, my puppy got a poison. He was puking blood the whole week, and he got diarrhea the whole week. So I had my mom, my pet dog, where I had to go to the vet 3 times. I still had the flu, but the good thing, what came out from all that, what came down on me the last 2 weeks was I couldn't manage everything myself. And I am a person, I never ask for help, ever. But I was standing in the flat of my mom. I saw how the flat looked. I knew that I had to go to the vet. And what I did, I learned to ask for help last week. So I got my brother and my sister, who are not like, how do I say that? They don't see if somebody needs help. So I had to go to them and say, here, mom needs our help with this and that, or I need your help with this and that. And they just looked at me because they don't know me like asking for help. But I had to learn that last week. And I had to realize how the weight got off me learning that. And how good it felt asking for help, and that they loved helping me, because I always help others, but I never wanted help. So they were actually quite glad that they could help me. So the good thing was I asked to learn for help. And the other good thing, what I hope will come out of this, we always said if my mom will stop working, she will get a heart attack and die, because she's always working. She's just hectic and depression. And now she's forced to do nothing for the first time in her life. And I am hoping, because she will be in rehab for the next 3 months. And so I will have time to renovate her flat, clean everything up. And I will hope in that 3 months that she will learn to get some peace and quiet, and that she will learn that the whole world will not fall apart if she doesn't work. I don't know if that makes sense. So these are the 2 positive things that came out of the last 2 weeks. I learned to ask for help, and I'm hoping that her 2 broken feet will be the teacher she needs to just see positivity and calm in her life, which she's never known. And I will see what comes out all of that. But I just wanted to share that, because the first time I can talk about this to anyone. And thank you for letting me sharing this here.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Asking for help is a very liberating experience the first time that you do it, and we realize how willing others are to help us, especially when we have the heart of service and we're willing to help other people. It's pretty cool, right? It takes a lot of pressure off. We know we don't have to do everything ourselves. I'll ask all of y'all for help. I need lots of help, so I got no shame. All right. Okay, we got a couple minutes left. Let's go.
Hey guys, Danny, very grateful to be here. I'll just not spend too much time. I just wanted to share with you guys an observation. Lately for every one of us, it has been a difficult period. I just realized that we are learning, we humans, and also maybe all natural creatures, we're learning through pain quite a lot. And I'm just chiming here into the words of Shabir and Jacqueline, that actually through pain, we see quite a lot of lessons. Also, if you look at disciplines like Buddhism, one of the things that they say is that all the big learnings are coming from suffering, what they call mukkha. And actually, Buddha himself, he wanted to circumvent the suffering in a way, to find a way that there is a human being in human life without suffering. This was his credo. This was his actually drive. But actually, if you look at most of the successful people in this world, they have either studied suffering or they have experienced suffering to become who they are. I'm not saying that we all need to be masochists and just torture ourselves in order to learn stuff, but I'm saying that we should accept, as you, Danny, said, all the hard lessons, the pain, and try to accept all this and live with it and try to learn the lesson. So every time when you get hurt, try to figure out why you're getting hurt. What's the lesson out of it? What can I learn out of it? And I think in the last period, I also kind of stumbled upon a phrase like, if you had only 12 hours per day, what would you cut off from your habits and daily rituals? So this makes you think really narrow and only to the point of effectiveness. And when you experience pain within these 12 hours, try to learn from it. Yeah, and I think everyone experienced pain in one form or shape. Now the point is to turn this into lessons and start learning from it. Because if you don't learn, then there will be another pain. And you will learn. Thank you guys for listening.
Thanks, Naska. Yeah, what we don't learn from, we repeat, right? I think that's the message. All right, guys. So want to shut it down here early for curls. So our action items for the week. If it's your first time joining us, we always try to have an action item or two at the end on something we can actually do to have an impact. So I have two this time. So the first one is easier than the second. The first one is to tell at least one person that you know, that you appreciate them and you recognize them for having a positive attitude or a positive impact on your life, or if they've helped you through adversity. Just send them a message, you know, give them a call and just tell them that they've had that impact on you, because that'll mean a lot to them, right? And I have found, like, I don't love communication by text message, but most forms of communication out there now have a voice thing where you can send a voice message, right? And if you don't call them, or if you don't see them, or if they're not around, or if they're in a different time zone, hearing somebody's voice expressing gratitude can absolutely change someone's day and their state of mind. So that is my first action item. The second one is infinitely more difficult. The second action item, should you choose to accept it, is don't complain about anything for the next 2 weeks. Don't complain about it. If you find yourself starting to complain, stop it, okay? And if you're mindful of this, if you really try, then you will at least recognize when something starts coming out of your mouth that's a complaint, okay? So this is really hard, because it could be like, whatever, my food's too hot. Well, that's complaining, okay? Just be grateful you got some food. A lot of people don't, okay? So just try it. See if you can just go 2 weeks and try not to complain about anything. And I'm really curious to hear about your experience on our call when we have it in a couple weeks. It will absolutely change your mindset and change your life if you don't complain. And everyone who is around you will super appreciate it, because nobody likes a complainer, right? Okay. The book of the week. Yes, sir.
Danny, quickly, my friend, why you said 2 weeks? I suggest everyone never, ever complain. Because when you complain, 80% don't care, 20% glad it's you. Why should you complain? Never complain. I think that's better.
Can I say something, Shabir? You've gotten to that stage and not everybody is at that level. So I think what Danny said, start with 2 weeks, is good, so that we don't get into an accident. So right. I think, yeah, so thank you.
Yeah, well, that's the idea. The goal is never, but forever is a very overwhelming period of time to do anything. So just start it off. This is where we're starting. But I'm with you, bro. I'm with you.
If I tell my mind for 2 weeks it gets lazy, I tell my mind to never complain. I will get used to it. That's how I do it.
You're a superhero, though, man. We're all just trying to get there, bro. I'm gonna ride on your cape. All right, the book of the week: Rhinoceros Success by Scott Alexander. This book is killer. JJ recommended this like months ago, and then Steve Greenlaw, and Jill Humphreys, and it's been on my shelf, and I finally read it. It is awesome. It is really short, really simple, quick read. Rhinoceros Success is fabulous. Check it out. And anything by Dr. Seuss. Like, I have tons of Dr. Seuss books. If you guys don't read Dr. Seuss, you're missing out, because they absolutely will make you smile. Okay. All right, Curls, we left you 3 minutes. Sorry, I tried to leave a little more. You guys are amazing. Super grateful to be in your space today. Thank you so much for joining our call. We appreciate it. Have an awesome day.
Great to see you all, guys. And we'll be back in 2 weeks' time. And I am curious to hear how you're getting on with the challenge that Danny's given to you. 2 weeks without complaining.
That's right. And don't complain about it. Just do it.
Yeah. And
later, guys.
Write it down when you catch yourself complaining. Write down that you're complaining about, so that you can reflect on it later, because you've been triggered by something and you wanna follow that thread. Why is it triggering you, and where is this coming from? And maybe you discover something about you that you'll be able to let go of. So who knows? Mystery. So
love it. Bye, guys.
Your evening, wherever you are in the world. Keep being awesome, and we'll be back very soon. Ciao, ciao.
Bye.
Thank you, Danny.
See you soon. Thank you, guys.
Bye.